Hello everyone, this is a detailed update from USA Secure Benefits regarding the recent developments in Social Security payments for January, where overnight confirmation has arrived indicating that a deposit wave has officially begun for seniors and other beneficiaries, and we want to address this matter calmly and clearly to alleviate any concerns you might have, especially if you are receiving Social Security retirement benefits, SSI, SSDI, survivor benefits as a widow or widower, VA benefits, or if you are serving as a caregiver for a loved one, because this information is directly relevant to your situation. And we understand that many of you started your day by checking your bank accounts, with some noticing deposits appearing while others have not yet seen them, which can understandably lead to feelings of stress, confusion, and worry. So allow us to provide reassurance right from the start by drawing on the guidance from the Social Security Administration and the U.S. Treasury, which we have reviewed thoroughly so that you do not have to. And in this discussion, we will proceed slowly, carefully, and truthfully to clarify everything together. And before moving forward, if you find that the content from USA Secure Benefits helps you remain informed and maintain your composure during such times, we encourage you to consider subscribing to stay updated, and additionally, feel free to share your city and state in the comments section as we do read those. And it fosters a sense of community among viewers, helping everyone feel less isolated in these experiences. And we urge you not to disengage at this point because the central portion of this update contains the most critical information, particularly for those whose payments have not yet appeared. And to set expectations clearly, here is what we commit to covering in this comprehensive overview. We will explain the changes occurring with January deposits, identify who is impacted and who is not, detail when these changes apply, outline what has been confirmed versus what remains unconfirmed, and advise on what actions you should take or avoid right now. So please join us in taking a moment to breathe deeply, as this is fundamentally about timing issues rather than any underlying problems, and we will guide you through it step by step. Now let us delve into why this topic is particularly significant at this moment, recognizing that many individuals are experiencing unease, given that January is never a typical month for these processes, involving the transition to a new calendar year, adjustments within the banking system, delays from holiday processing, interactions with cost of living adjustments, deductions for Medicare premiums, and the simultaneous movement of various deposit groups, all of which can result in payments not arriving in the same consistent manner as they did in the previous month of December. And when discrepancies arise, such as one neighbor receiving their payment ahead of another, it can understandably generate fear, which we fully comprehend. And to address this directly, let us state clearly that a delay in the posting of your deposit does not indicate any issue with your benefits themselves, as much of what is being observed currently relates more to the processing cycles of individual banks than to any actions or inactions on your part. And we are aware that social media is currently filled with heightened discussions and rumors are circulating widely. So our goal here is to explain the actual situation, because there is no shame in feeling confused. And on the surface, the Social Security payment schedule appears highly structured and organized, but in practice, real-world implementations do not always align perfectly with that neat framework. So here is the policy overview. Firstly, the Social Security Administration releases payments to the U.S. Treasury on predetermined dates, after which the Treasury forwards those funds to banks and credit unions. And this is where the practical realities come into play, because once the funds arrive at your financial institution, the Social Security Administration no longer has control over when the money becomes visible in your account, as banks handle deposits at varying times, with some posting them overnight, others in the early morning, some at midday, and even a few the following business day, meaning that two individuals receiving the same type of benefit and the same payment amount might see their deposits on different days, which is entirely normal. And this timing gap is precisely where much of the confusion originates. And that is what we are demystifying in this update from USA Secure Benefits. And importantly, this is not based on personal opinions, speculation, or unsubstantiated rumors, but rather on the established functioning of the system every single year. And by gaining an understanding of how the system operates, You can diminish the power that fear holds over you, which is our primary objective here at USA Secure Benefits, to empower you with knowledge so that you can safeguard your peace of mind. And to recap what we have addressed thus far, a deposit wave for January has commenced. Differences in timing are occurring at the system level rather than being personal issues, and bank posting schedules are playing a significant role in the current variations. And now we are prepared to explore more deeply how January payments are processed in practice, enabling you to identify exactly where you fit within this framework. And rest assured, you have not overlooked any key details, as the most beneficial information is forthcoming. Now let us proceed at a measured pace to explain this clearly, noting that Social Security payments are categorized into three primary groups, the first being the pre-1997 group, where if you began receiving Social Security before May 1997, your payment is typically scheduled early in the month. The second group consists of SSI recipients, with SSI generally paying on the first of the month unless that date coincides with a weekend or holiday, and the third involves the Wednesday schedule based on birthdays, specifically for birthdays falling between the 1st and 10th, 11th and 20th, or 21st and 31st, with each subgroup having its own designated Wednesday. And this is where January introduces additional complexities, as when holidays overlap with weekends, the Treasury might release funds earlier, yet banks could still post them later, explaining why some individuals are observing deposits appearing overnight, while others continue to wait, even though the Social Security Administration has fulfilled its responsibilities. And we emphasize not to panic as we are navigating this together. And before advancing further, it is important to acknowledge that not every person's circumstances fit neatly into a single category, such as those who are widows or widowers, disabled adult children, SSI couples, dual beneficiaries receiving both SSI and SSDI, individuals getting both VA and Social Security benefits, or those with a representative payee, and these variations can subtly influence how and when deposits appear. So we will address those specifics carefully in the subsequent section to ensure no one feels excluded or disregarded, and we also want to prepare you for the clarifications ahead, as there are false claims circulating currently, including assertions that payments have been stopped, that the Social Security Administration altered rules overnight, or that you must call immediately to avoid losing benefits. And to be clear, those statements are not accurate, and we will distinguish fact from fear in a composed manner, presenting what the Social Security Administration and Treasury have actually confirmed, and in the following segment, we will explain why your neighbor might receive payment first. And why a pending status does not always equate to immediate availability, and why the Social Security Administration cannot intervene to override your bank's processes. And comprehending this aspect alone can significantly improve your ability to rest easier. Now, this is the section where we deliberately slow the pace even further, because individual situations vary on paper, and we want to ensure you hear this distinctly, emphasizing that if your circumstances differ slightly, it does not signify that something is amiss. So let us examine a few key groups, starting with widows or widowers, where your benefit may be linked to your late spouse's record, potentially placing you on a distinct payment timing pattern, particularly in January amid system adjustments, and for disabled adult children, often referred to as DAC, your payment aligns with the primary worker's record rather than your own birthday. So the timing may differ from standard SSDI, and for SSI couples, deposits are sometimes combined or separated based on bank processing, which is inherent to the system and not an error. And if you receive both SSI and SSDI, those are handled separately, even if they arrive in close proximity, meaning one could appear before the other. And for those receiving VA benefits alongside Social Security, note that these systems do not communicate in real time, so the arrival of one deposit does not dictate the timing of the other. And if you have a representative payee, deposits might display as pending for an extended period due to additional verification steps imposed by banks. And importantly, none of these scenarios imply that your benefits are in jeopardy. They merely account for why January timing can appear inconsistent. Now let us engage in some measured myth-busting, not with any judgment, but purely with facts, as we are observing online claims such as payments being stopped, Social Security Administration freezing accounts, or January checks being reduced. And to counter that, The reality is that the Social Security Administration has not canceled January benefits. The Treasury has not reversed any deposits, and there has been no sudden rule change impacting eligibility. What is occurring instead is a staggered posting cycle coupled with January system resets and processing at the bank level. And while fear can spread rapidly, facts endure. So if you encounter alarming content on social media, we advise pausing, taking a breath, and relying on verified information rather than panic-driven posts. And this next explanation resolves more confusion than nearly any other element, detailing how the process unfolds. The Social Security Administration issues payment instructions to the U.S. Treasury. The Treasury then transfers the money to your bank, at which juncture the Social Security Administration's involvement concludes, and banks subsequently determine when to post the deposits, whether to mark them as pending, and when the funds become accessible, with variations including overnight posting for some, 6 a.m. for others, noon for yet more, or even the next business day, which elucidates why a neighbor with identical benefits might see their payments sooner. And crucially, the Social Security Administration cannot compel a bank to accelerate posting. So any waiting period does not mean you are being overlooked, but rather that your bank has not yet completed its procedures. Now let us discuss calmly the topic of missing payments, where the Social Security Administration adheres to a 3-business-day rule, advising that you wait 3 full business days following your scheduled date before pursuing further action, noting that weekends and holidays are excluded from this count, and most delays self-resolve within that time frame. And if after those 3 business days no posting has occurred, here are the recommended steps. First, check your My Social Security account to confirm your bank information and review any notices, then contact the Social Security Administration if necessary. And when doing so, prepare by having your Social Security number, bank name, and last deposit date at hand. Approaching this without panic or haste, but as methodical steps, and from USA Secure Benefits, we want to take a moment here to recognize that this extends beyond mere numbers. It pertains to essentials like groceries, rent, utilities, and medications, and it involves sleepless nights filled with worry about whether everything will be all right, and we acknowledge that many are subsisting on fixed incomes in an increasingly costly world, and that stress is valid, but please internalize this. You deserve stability and dignity, and you are not at fault for the system's sluggishness. And to assist further, here is a straightforward checklist. Check your My Social Security account, verify direct deposit details, review Medicare deductions, inquire about Medicare savings programs, such as QMB, SLMB, or QI, explore extra help for prescriptions, consider SNAP or LIHEAP if eligible, and remain vigilant against scams, as the Social Security Administration never issues threats via phone or demands payment through gift cards, and these are slow, secure steps to follow. Looking forward, here is the straightforward truth. Additional deposits will continue to be distributed throughout January, with timing influenced by Social Security Administration schedules, Treasury releases, and bank posting practices, potentially including some early deposits or delays, though nothing is assured and no alarming developments have been confirmed. And we at USA Secure Benefits commit to keeping you informed as new facts emerge. And in closing, thank you for dedicating your time to this update today. And if it has been helpful, please comment yes below, share your state, and type SSA if you desire more similar updates, and consider sharing this with anyone who might be concerned, remembering that you are not alone, you are valued, and you matter. So take care of yourself and know that you have support.